where rain burns through steel and kindness is a forgotten word, one scavenger makes a choice he can't undo. He reaches out to save a mysterious girl with silver skin, only to discover he's triggered an ancient bond, one that ties their souls and wakes a power the galaxy thought was buried forever. Now, hunted by enemies from another age, they must survive a prophecy, a trial, and a future written in fire. This isn't just a rescue, it's the beginning of a legend. If you are new here, then please subscribe this channel and show thumbs up by liking the video. Now let's move toward this wonderful story. The sky above Doran 6 never really opened up. It pressed down. Heavy, angry clouds churned like they were made of steel wool and smoke. They didn't just rain. They burned. The locals didn't call it a storm. They called it skin fire. Terran ducked low behind a crumbling storage unit, his coat already hissing from the droplet sizzling on his back. He wiped the grime from his goggles and peered across the scrapyard. Steam rose in columns from broken machinery. Burnt metal stank in the air. This was no place to be caught without shelter, but he had spotted something, movement, near the eastern edge of the junk piles. That's why he hadn't run yet. He didn't come out here for heroics. He scavenged because it paid better than mining and because he didn't like people enough to stay in town. But what he'd seen, that flash of something silver blue, barely peeking from under a bent antenna dish, wasn't scrap. It moved, it reached out, and now, against every good instinct he had, he was creeping toward it. His boots crunched over melted stone and twisted wire as he approached. The rain kept falling, each drop hissing where it landed. As he neared the wreckage, he saw it again. A hand. Small. 3 fingers. Glowing faintly. Definitely not human. Terran hesitated. There were stories about wild drones and alien tech, traps left by ancient engineers. But this didn't look mechanical. It looked scared. He dropped to his knees and gently brushed aside a sheet of scorched metal. His breath caught. Lying curled beneath the debris was a girl. At least, that's what she looked like. Her skin was smooth and silver. Her long, tangled hair clung to her face, and 2 small horns curved back from her forehead. Her body trembled like she was freezing, though the air was thick with heat and fumes. The rain sizzled on her skin, steam rising in wisps. Terran's first instinct was to run. This was bad news. This could be alien disease or some leftover experiment from the old wars. But then her eyes opened. Just a sliver. Pale violet. Full of fear and something deeper. Something tired. She blinked slowly, trying to focus. "Hey," Terran said, his voice barely above the sound of the burning rain. "Hey, you okay?" She didn't respond. Her lips didn't move. Her hands didn't lift. But her eyes stayed on his face, and in them he saw a plea too quiet for words. Cursing under his breath, he tore off his coat. The outer layer was scorched and patched a dozen times over, but the inside was still dry and warm. He wrapped it around her gently, carefully. Her skin was icy cold, like touching the side of a cryo unit. Still, he didn't stop. He pulled off his scarf and wiped the stinging rain from her face and neck. His fingers burned every time they touched her, but he kept going. "You can't stay wet in this," he muttered. "It'll eat you alive." She didn't move, but her breathing changed. Slower. Deeper. And then, her eyes locked onto his. Terran froze. There was something behind that gaze, ancient, strange, like a storm behind glass. "You touched me," she whispered. Her voice echoed, not like an echo in the air, but inside his skull, like 2 voices speaking at once. Terran leaned back, startled. "What?" She stared at his wrist, and suddenly he felt it. A warmth. He looked down to see a faint symbol glowing, just below his skin. Not ink, not a tattoo. It pulsed like it was alive. "What the hell is this?" he said, backing up slightly. The girl sat up, trembling. She clutched his coat around her and stared at the mark on his arm like she recognized It. Her face shifted. Confusion, fear, and something like awe. No, she whispered. No. You don't know what you've done. Taryn's heart was hammering. What did I do? You dried me during Stormbind. He blinked. Stormbind? It's a sacred time, she said, her voice shaking. The rain exposes the soul. If someone touches another during it, it marks them. Forever. Mark souls, he repeated, barely understanding. She nodded. You've bonded us, and now they'll come. Who's they? He asked. But she didn't answer. Her knees buckled and she collapsed. Taryn caught her before she hit the ground. Her skin, once freezing, was now warm. The mark on his wrist pulsed again. Not painful but present, like a heartbeat that wasn't his own. He looked out into the burning rain. Somewhere, deep in the clouds, a low hum echoed. Not thunder. Engines. Something was coming. Taryn looked back at the girl cradled in his arms. I don't know what I just did, he whispered, but I'm not leaving you here. He lifted her and ran toward the shelter of the old mining tunnels, the rain burning his back with every step. Behind him, the sky growled like a beast waking from sleep, and far above them, unseen eyes turned toward Doran 6 as a new storm began to stir. Taryn ducked into the mouth of the old mining tunnel just as another wave of storm fire hissed down behind him. He stumbled on loose gravel, still holding the alien girl close, her silver skin wrapped in his scorched coat. Inside, the tunnel was damp and dark, the air cold and thick with the smell of rust and wet stone. He moved deeper until the burning sound of rain faded behind them, replaced by the steady drip of old water and his own heavy breathing. He laid her gently on the ground, careful not to let her head touch the sharp stones. She was still unconscious, her body trembling slightly, her chest rising in slow, shallow breaths. The faint glow on his wrist hadn't faded. If anything, it felt stronger, like a rope gently tugging him toward her. Taryn sat back, trying to steady his thoughts. What was happening? He had only wanted to help, but now he was marked, bonded, whatever that meant, and someone or something was coming for them. The girl stirred. Her eyes opened suddenly, glowing with that same violet light. She sat up too fast, clutching the coat tighter. Her hands reached for her head, fingers pressing into her temples like she was trying to hold her mind together. Taryn raised his hands. Hey, it's okay, he said gently. You're safe now. I brought you here to get you out of the storm. You shouldn't have, she whispered. Her voice was quieter now, not echoing, but it still had a strange tone, like it didn't belong to just one person. Taryn blinked. What? You should have left me before the bond settled. He looked down at his wrist. You mean this? I didn't ask for it. I just wanted to help. It's complete now, she said, her face tight. You didn't just mark me. You claimed me. Taryn's stomach twisted. Claimed you? No, that's not what I... Look, I don't know your customs, all right? I just saw someone dying in the rain and I acted. She stared at him silent, like she was trying to understand something she hadn't expected. Then she spoke slowly. Help. That word, it doesn't exist where I come from. The words sank in like stones in a pond. Taryn didn't know what to say. He'd grown up in a rough colony. People didn't offer help unless they wanted something. And yet, looking at her, so lost, so alien, he'd felt something. Not pity, not even kindness. Just something he didn't understand. What are you? He asked finally. She looked up. My name is Solari. I'm Arari. Taryn frowned. That word stirred something. He'd heard it before. In stories told by old drifters around fire pits. The Orari were an empire, long gone before humanity ever reached the outer colonies. He thought they were a myth. I thought the Orari were extinct, he said. We were, she replied softly. Until I ran. Taryn leaned against the tunnel wall. The air felt heavier now. So what? You're the last of your kind? Solari shook her head. I'm just the last one they couldn't control. Silence filled the space between them, the kind of silence that meant something big had just been said. Terran didn't fully understand it, but he felt the weight of it. She wasn't just a lost traveler. She was something dangerous, something hunted. You said others are coming, he said. Who? Your people? Solari nodded. And those who serve them? Hunters, drones. They'll follow the bond signal. Terran rubbed his. First, you're all this because I gave you my coat? Not the coat, she said. Because you dried me during Stormbind, our sacred time. The rain reveals the soul. A touch, then, connects more than skin. It ties essence to essence. He shook his head. That's a lot for one act. For us, she said, it's everything. Terran looked at his wrist again. The mark pulsed. Not painfully, but constantly. A reminder. So what do we do now? He asked. We run, she said. Or we fight. But either way, we can't be apart. The bond will hurt us if we separate. Before he could respond, a high-pitched tone echoed down the tunnel. It was soft, but unmistakable. Electronic. Searching. Terran stiffened. They found us, Solari whispered. He moved toward the mouth of the tunnel, careful not to make noise. In the distance, he saw a red light sweeping across the darkness. It moved methodically. A search drone. I know that model, he muttered. I've seen them raise settlements, just to find one person. Solari stood beside him, still weak but on her feet. I can shield us for a few minutes, she said, but then you'll have to choose. Choose what? He asked. She reached out, and for the first time took his hand willingly. To stay with me, or survive alone. Her touch was warm. Now. The mark on his wrist flared with light. Terran looked into her eyes and felt something shift inside him. Not fear, not confusion. Purpose. Then, from the tunnel entrance, a beam of red light cut through the shadows, and the hunt began. Terran had never been on a ship like this. It didn't hum like human ships. It whispered. Soft, constant tones pulsed through the walls like it was breathing. The corridor was made of smooth, pale, stone-like material, warm to the touch, glowing faintly from within. Solari walked beside him, her face unreadable. Two Orari guards followed closely behind, tall figures in white armor, silent and still, like statues that had learned to move. They had surrendered. Not because they wanted to, but because the bond left them no other option. The Orari had found them in the tunnels. The drones didn't attack, just hovered, scanned, and waited. Moments later, the ship had arrived, descending like a bird of prey in the storm. Solari had stepped out and spoken a word Terran didn't understand. The guards had lowered their weapons and brought them aboard without a fight. Now, Terran walked into a large chamber shaped like a circle, the ceiling so high, it disappeared into shadow. Around the edge stood a dozen more Orari, all watching, all silent. At the center stood a tall figure in flowing robes and a polished silver mask that hid their face. The figure raised one hand. You have violated sacred code. The voice rang, out, sharp and calm. The bond was not chosen by right, it was forged in storm, it must be tested. Terran glanced at Solari. Tested how? He whispered. She didn't answer. The masked figure turned toward him. You, human, must face the trial of fire and stone. If your bond is true, it will protect you. If not, it will end you. Terran's mouth went dry. Great. The floor beneath him shifted. With a low rumble, the center of the chamber sank into a pit. Blue light spilled upward, revealing a ring of glowing symbols circling the edge. The words pulsed like a heartbeat. Terran didn't recognize the language, but he didn't need to. It only said one thing. Trial. Solari stepped back as two guards led Terran to the center. He stood there, unsure, heart pounding, unsure of what to expect. A low growl echoed from beneath the floor. Then it rose. The creature was massive, unlike anything he'd ever seen. It walked on 4 legs, each one ending in sharp claws that clicked against the glowing floor. Its body was black, slick, almost liquid. Its face had no mouth, no nose, just one single glowing red eye in the center of its head. It didn't roar. It didn't charge. It just stared at him. Terran didn't move. He had no weapon, no armor, no idea what to do. He felt the heat of the trial lights rising around him. He heard nothing from Solari, no whisper in his mind, no call from the bond. The beast stepped forward. He dodged its first attack by pure instinct. The claws missed him by inches. He hit the floor hard, rolled, came up gasping. The second swipe grazed his arm. His jacket tore open, blood already soaking through. The crowd didn't react. This wasn't for entertainment. This was judgment. He scrambled back, eyes searching for anything, a loose stone, a pipe, anything he could use. But the arena was bare, just him and the creature. It lunged again. He rolled under it, his body screaming in pain. And then, finally, he heard it. Left, whispered a voice inside his head. Solari. Without thinking, he moved left. The creature's claws slammed down where he had been. Another whisper followed. Under the neck. Soft spot. Terran jumped forward, slamming his elbow into the underside of the creature's jaw. It wasn't enough to hurt it, but it staggered. The red eye blinked. The crowd shifted. Terran felt it then. The bond. The mark on his wrist flared with heat. He wasn't just hearing Solari. He was feeling her. Her fear. Her focus. Her strength. It was flowing into him. Now! She cried inside his mind. He grabbed a metal rod from the edge of the pit. He hadn't even seen it before. And drove it upward as the creature lunged. The rod pierced the soft flesh beneath its jaw. It let out a high-pitched shriek that wasn't a sound. It was a vibration. It echoed through the room, shaking the very air. Then the creature fell. The arena fell into silence. Terran stood there, panting, arm burning, blood dripping from his fingers. The creature didn't move. The masked figure stepped forward. Slowly, they removed their helmet. A woman, her face lined with age but sharp with power, looked at him. "The bond is acknowledged," she said. "By right of trial, you have proven its truth." She turned to the others. "Let it be known. A human carries the old code. The Uber prophecy stirs." Terran's legs nearly gave out. Solari rushed to his side, catching him. "You didn't just survive," she whispered. "You made history." He looked at her, too tired to speak. Above them, the chamber's ceiling split open, revealing the sky beyond. Storms still raged, but somewhere far above, the clouds were beginning to thin, and something ancient was waking. The desert beyond the trial arena was not made of sand but of ash, thick, soft, and pale as bone. It stretched across the horizon in endless waves, broken only by black stone ridges and the skeletons of ancient towers long forgotten. Terran stood. On the edge of it, a light wind brushing dust against his legs. The mark on his wrist still glowed, pulsing faintly, a reminder of everything that had changed. Solari walked beside him in silence. Since the trial, she had spoken little. Her face was calm, but her eyes held the weight of centuries. Terran didn't push her to talk. He knew the bond between them spoke louder than words. He could feel her thoughts, fragments of fear, hope, and something deeper, something she hadn't shared yet. They traveled across the wasteland in an old Orari skimmer gifted to them, not with kindness but with duty. The trial had changed things. The Orari had accepted the bond for now but warned them both. The old ways were waking and not everyone would welcome them. As they moved across the ash fields, Solari held a small silver disc in her hand. It glowed faintly, projecting a map in the air, stars and symbols neither of them fully understood. At its center pulsed a single green point. "There," she said at last. "The vault." It didn't look like much at first, just another hill of debris. But as they climbed, Terran saw the edges of something artificial. A dome. cracked and sunken but still pulsing with energy. It hummed under his feet as they walked. The entrance was sealed with a smooth silver door, featureless except for a small hand-shaped plate in its center. Solari stepped forward and placed her hand on it. Nothing happened. Taryn stepped beside her. "Try the mark," he said softly. She nodded, then took his hand and placed it against the panel. The door shuddered. Lines of light spread from the contact point, tracing shapes and symbols across the surface. The door hissed open, revealing a tunnel that sloped downward into darkness. They stepped inside together, the air thick with dust and the scent of old power. The walls were smooth and covered with symbols that shifted as they passed. It was not just a place, it was alive. Deeper inside, the tunnel opened into a massive chamber filled with rows of glowing orbs, floating gently in the air like fireflies frozen in time. At the center stood a pedestal with a single orb larger than the others, pulsing with a light that matched the rhythm of Taryn's wrist. "This is it," Solari whispered. "The Echo Core, the last of the Orari memory." Taryn looked at the orb. "What does it do?" "It holds everything," she said. "Our history, our knowledge, our failures." Taryn stepped closer, staring at the light. "And we're just supposed to—" "What? Turn it back on?" Solari's voice was quiet. "We're supposed to decide. Wake it, and the galaxy will know what was lost, but if the wrong people find it—" Taryn didn't answer right away. He looked at the orb, then at her. "Why did the Orari hide all this?" "Because they were ashamed," she said. "Because they turned something sacred into something dangerous. They thought if they buried the truth, they could bury the guilt too." Taryn reached out and touched the orb. The chamber lit up. Images flashed across the walls, stars being born, civilizations rising and falling, children learning to speak in glowing halls, and leaders arguing about power and bonds. He saw war. He saw peace. He saw a girl, young and afraid, running from her, people, and he saw himself standing in the rain, arms around her as the storm fell. The vision faded and the orb dimmed. Taryn took a deep breath. "It's not just a history. It's a mirror." Solari nodded. "And now it's ours to carry." They stepped back into the light of the desert, the vault ceiling behind them. In the sky above, storm clouds still churned, but there was a break now, a small patch of blue. It felt like hope. As they made their way back to the skimmer, a faint vibration ran through the ground. Taryn turned. In the distance, a ship was descending, not Orari, something older, heavier. The signal from the vault had awakened more than just memories. "They're coming," Solari said. Taryn nodded. "Then we don't run. We lead." She looked at him, her eyes glowing softly. "Are you ready?" "No," he said with a grin. "But let's do it anyway." Together they climbed into the skimmer and set off across the ash. Behind them, the vault pulsed gently, its secrets no longer buried. Ahead of them, the sky opened, and the future waited. Not promised, not safe, but chosen. And for the first time, Taryn felt like he was exactly where he was meant to be.